Okay, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about using gender neutral language. So before we start, we just want to know what gender neutral language is. So gender neutral language is language that isn't biased towards one sex. Okay, so when we're using gender neutral language, we want to use language that wouldn't favor one sex over the other. Okay, especially when we're talking about non-specific gender roles or professions. So when we're talking about things that could be used, for females or males, we want to avoid favoring one sex over the other. So let's take a look at just a few very simple gendered and gender neutral words. So we have policeman. So if you notice here, it has the word man, and we know that this is a job that could be taken by both sexes. So when we use the word police officer, this is considered a gender neutral language. Mailman, so we have the word man here. So mailman could be male career and could include a female as well. So it's not a job that is specifically for a male. Then we have something that's very common, man. So in majority of languages, we use, the male pronoun and, to talk about people in general. So when we say man, sometimes we don't mean a man, we mean, a person. Okay, so this is an example of gendered language. So when we say person, it's more inclusive. Okay. Actress. Okay, so it's not always for males. Sometimes it's actually, we use language that's more, in favor of the females as well. So actress is just for a female, and the word actor includes both. So it's more gender inclusive. Yeah, so we have pronouns like he, she, her, and so on. So we have he, him, and his. And we have gender neutral pronouns like they, them, their, one, one's, and oneself. Now, what is the problem with gendered language? Okay, first of all, it could be seen as discrimination. Okay, so when your examiner is marking your paper, you really don't want them to be like that, angry. Okay, especially feminists. So if you get on the wrong side of a feminist, I don't think it's going to favor your mark whatsoever. Okay, so it's good to be careful when using language. Number two, people might have a difficulty understanding that a word such as man means a person. So sometimes when you use like he or a man or something like that, it might be confusing. So we really want to make sure that we're not confusing the reader, which in the IELTS exam is the examiner. Okay, so we want our writing to be as clear as possible. Okay. Now, the most common mistake made with gendered language is the use of pronouns, especially. So we have like he, him, his, she, her, and so on. So this is very, very common amongst, the majority of students. Most students use gendered language, which they shouldn't be. So here we have some examples of gendered language, and I'm sure if we go through the essays, we'll find many, many examples. A judge needs to take his job seriously. So we're just talking about judges in general here, and we're using his. So it's not very inclusive of, females. A teacher. Now, it's not always with male pronouns. A lot of the time when people use the word teacher, they always assume that it's a female or use the female pronoun, when of course we know that there are male teachers as well. So it's not always with male pronouns, but yes, it's you know, most of the time it is. A person should always think about others before he thinks of himself. So yeah, so that is favoring, you know, the using the male pronoun there to talk about people in general. A citizen is allowed to vote if he has registered 1 month in advance. So then again, we have the pronoun here to talk about people in general, really. So I'm going to go through a number of ways, okay, that you can use to avoid these pronouns and this gendered language. So here we have change the singular nouns into plurals. So instead of saying adjudge, and then having to use, you know, maybe his or her or she and so on, we could say judges. So now when we change it to the plural, we're not going to be using the singular pronoun for a male or for a female. So judges need to take their job seriously. A teacher is going to change to teachers must treat all their students equally. A person should always think about others before he. So here we have he. People should think about others before they think about themselves. So here, when we change the nouns to plural, also the pronouns changed. His to their, her to their, he to they, himself to themselves. Okay, I'm getting some questions, and of course I'm going to be going over all of the different ways, and this is just the first one. So first of all, let's practice. So we have a doctor needs to listen carefully to his patients. A mechanic must look after his tools. An employer should think of others before he thinks of himself. A citizen is allowed to vote if he has registered 1 month in advance. So can we change the nouns to plural, and also, of course, change the other pronouns that need to change with the noun? Okay, so can you type in your answers in the chat? Okay. So we have, okay. So let's take a look at the first one. The majority of you have the first one right. Let's see what we have. Doctors need to listen carefully to their patients. Okay, so we change doctor to doctors, and we change his to their. Okay, let's take a look at the second one for the mechanic. A mechanic must look after his tools. Mechanics. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. We're doing well. Okay, so here we have mechanics must look after their tools. So we have mechanic from a mechanic to mechanics, and we have his to their. Fantastic. Let's take a look at the next one. An employer should think of others before he thinks of himself. Okay, have a few answers that are looking good. It's Abu Bakr. I think we need to take an S from the verb because we have they. It should be they think, not they thinks. Okay, very good. Okay, we have a yes. Good. Okay, so here we have an employer to employers. We have the pronoun he to they, himself to themselves. Excellent. Let's look at the last one. So a citizen is allowed to vote if he has registered 1 month in advance. So the last one. Citizens, so we have Saeed. Citizens. Good. Suran as well. Good. Yes. Okay. Yes. So we have, very good. Okay, everyone's got it right. So we have citizen to citizens. We have he to they. Okay. Very good. Excellent. Now let's take a look at another way. So change he to he or she. Okay. So a citizen is allowed to vote if he. A citizen is allowed to vote if he or she has registered 1 month in advance. A doctor must work hard if he wants to become well known. A doctor must work hard if he or she wants to become well known. So this is a very easy way, just changing he to he or she to include the other gender. Okay, to be more inclusive. So there is one thing to be careful of. Now, if we look at this sentence here, a person should always think about others before he thinks of himself. Now, when we try to do he or she, then it becomes problematic because we start to have too many pronouns, right? So we'll have a person should always think about others before he or she thinks of himself or herself. It sounds a little bit strange. Okay, so I think we should avoid it when we have lots of pronouns. Okay, but if it's just one he or one she, then yes, it's suitable, it's fine, there's no problem with it. Okay, let's take a look at some of the exercises that we have. So we have a person can go if he has all the pre-requirements. A student has to study hard if he wants to get a scholarship. So let's write, let's correct these using more inclusive language. Good. Starting to get some answers. Good. Excellent. Excellent. So, right. Okay. So you're all getting the answer correct. So we have a person can go if he or she has all the pre-requirements. Let's take a look at the next one. A student has to study hard if he wants to get a scholarship. Good. Abu Bakr's there. The answers. Okay. If he or she wants. Good. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Very good. Okay. So a student has to study hard if he or she wants to get a scholarship. Okay, let's move on to another way. Okay, let's move on to another way. So here we have change pronouns to the plural form. So we just take the pronoun and we change it to the plural. Now, this is confusing for many students because they see the subject is singular and then they see that the pronoun is plural. So they find this confusing. Okay, this has become accepted now in English because people cannot use the pronoun he anymore or just she when we're talking about people in general. So this has become acceptable in academic writing. So even though the subject is singular, we can use the pronouns, the plural pronoun, they, their, them, and so on. So let's take a look at the examples. So we have a judge needs to take his job seriously. A judge needs to take their job seriously. A person should always think about others before he thinks of himself. A person should always think about others before they. So here we have a person and we have they. There's no problem with that. Think of themselves. A citizen is allowed to vote if he has registered. Is going to change to a citizen is allowed to vote if they have registered 1 month in advance. Okay. So let's practice. So we have a student should help others at school if he can. So let's take a look at the first one. So a student should help others at school if he can. So how can we change that to plural? If they can. Good. Good. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. So here we have a student should help others at school if they can. You're all getting the answers correct. Let's take a look at the next one. Let's see if we can get this one right, because we do have some verbs and multiple pronouns here. A person should always treat people like he treats himself. Maybe not the best of examples here, but I think we know the meaning here, what we mean by that. Good. Good. Excellent. Excellent. So we have they, and oh, sorry, we have a typo here. It should be themselves. And the last one, a child should always respect his parents, is going to change to a child should always respect their parents. Okay. So let's move on to another way. So instead of his or just her, we can use his or her. Okay, so a judge needs to take his job seriously could turn into a judge needs to take his or her job seriously. So this is similar to the one that we did previously, which was changing he to he or she. We're going to change like his to his and her, his or her, or just her to his or her. Okay. So a teacher must treat all her students equally. A teacher must treat all his or her students equally. So here we have a teacher needs to work hard with her students. Is going to change to a teacher needs to work hard with his or her students. Okay. And the last one, a doctor must look after his patients. So we're assuming here that the doctor is a male here, which is not always the case. So a doctor must always look after his or her patients. Okay. Let's take a look at some more ways of using gender neutral language. Now, here we have changing sentences into passive voice. So if you notice here, we have his and we have her. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the possessive S and change the sentence into passive. A judge needs to take his job seriously. So we're going to say a judge's job. So we're going to use the possessive S, a judge's job. So job here is going to become the subject of the sentence, a judge's job. Okay, so we're changing active voice. Active voice is when we are starting with the doer. The doer is the agent, the one who is doing the action. Okay, so we're gonna, in active voice, we start off with the doer, the agent, then we have the verb, and then we have the object, which is the job. But now we're going to change it to passive and we're going to put the job first. So it's going to be a judge's job. Then we have needs to and must. So with needs to and verbs with the infinitive, to plus infinitive, what we do is we add be and the next verb is changed to the past participle. So needs in the passive form will be needs to be. And the second verb will be in the past participle, needs to be taken. So a judge's job needs to be taken seriously. So here we have just gotten rid of the possessive adjective. A teacher must treat all her students. So students, the object, we're going to make students here the subject. So a teacher's students must be treated equally. Okay, so this is another trick that we can use to avoid favoring one gender over the other and to be a lot more gender neutral. Okay, so a lecturer must take his job seriously. Let's change this. Let's see. Okay, lecturer. Oh, good, 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 good. Excellent, excellent. I think we've got all the right answers there. So here we have a lecturer's. So we have the possessive S, a lecturer's job. And then we have the verb being changed from the active to the passive, must be taken seriously. The next one, a parent must treat all her children equally. So here we just assume that the parent is going to be a female here, so a mother, treating them equally, but of course we know we have fathers as well. So let's make that more gender neutral. Let's not upset the fathers there. Okay. Excellent. Good, 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 good. Okay, so we've got some good answers there. A parent's children must be treated equally. Very good. Very good. Okay, now let's move on to another way. Okay, to be honest, there were more, but I didn't want to make the lesson too long. So I've just chosen some of the ways we can use. So here we have use of the pronoun one, because the pronoun one is gender neutral. It's not it doesn't favor one of the it doesn't favor any gender. So one, one's, and oneself. So here we have a judge needs to take his job seriously. So a judge needs to take one's job seriously. So this is just a neutral, basically just a neutral pronoun one. A teacher must treat all her students equally. A teacher must treat all one's students equally. A person should always think about others before he thinks of himself. A person should always think about others before one thinks of oneself. Okay, so this is another way. So we have one, one's, oneself, to take the place of his and her, himself and herself. So let's see, let's do some. So you have a lecturer must teach all her students equally. Let's try to make this more gender neutral. Let's see what we have. Okay. Very good. Okay. Now let's take a look at the next sentence. One should always think about others before he thinks of himself. So what could we do here? How could we make this more gender neutral, gender inclusive? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So here we have, one should always think about others before one thinks of oneself. Okay. Sometimes it's nice to show the examiner that we know like different ways of, using gender neutral language. So sometimes use one and maybe they, and change the passive, and mix it up a bit. And it really helps. I think examiners appreciate it, especially when we're avoiding you know um, those gendered pronouns and so on. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Now, there are many words. I'll share with you links for lists of words that are more gender inclusive or gender neutral. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'll put some links down in the description so you can learn a lot more vocabulary that is gender inclusive. So we have man, person, mankind, people, policeman, police officer, common man, the average person, chairman, chairperson, coordinator, CA, CEO, mailman, mail carrier, letter carrier, postal worker. I did police officer, policeman twice there. Steward, stewardess, flight attendant, actor, actress, actor, to include both. Congressman, legislator, congressional representative, freshman, first year student, man-made, machine-made, synthetic, artificial. So all of these are words that are more inclusive. As I said, I will share more with you um, for you to read. Okay. Just before we finish, I want us to kind of brainstorm different ways. So now we've taken a look at, was it 6 ways? Yeah. Oh, well, we did 5 with the pronouns and so on. So I want you to brainstorm different ways for the census. So let's take it one at a time, and let's take a look at number 1 and see what we can think of. Type as many alternatives, different ways of writing this sentence that are more gender inclusive in the chat box, and I'll go through them and I'll see what's good and what isn't. Okay, I missed a few. Okay, a judge needs to take one's job seriously. Okay, that's a good one. A judge needs, oh, Oh, judges. Yeah, plural. So we have a judge needs to take one's job seriously. Judges. So we change the noun to plural. So judges need to take their job seriously. Very good. A judge. Ah, that was lovely. So here we've taken this into passive. A judge's job needs to be taken seriously. Nice. Uh, that was Ionella, yeah? Okay. Wurud. Yeah, it's nice. We're going to change it to judges, but we can't say a judges. So it will have to be judges need to take their job seriously. A judge needs to take, his or her. Good, good, his or her. A judge needs to take one's job seriously. Nice. Judges need to take their job seriously. Nice. Judges need to. Hmm. Here I have judge's job. Judge's job needs to be taken. So we're going to have to say, maybe we could say judges' jobs need to be taken seriously, or a judge's job needs to be taken seriously. Okay? Okay, we have another one, a judge needs to take his or her. That's good. Here I have a judge's job need to be taken. So we're going to have to add an S to the verb. So it has to be a judge's job needs to be taken seriously. Yeah? It's called subject-verb agreement. So when we have a singular noun, we're going to add S-E-S, I-E-S to the verb. A judge's job needs to be taken seriously. Okay, good. Good. A judge needs to take one's job seriously. Okay. Excellent, excellent. Okay. Very good. So we had we had a wide range there. So you really showed that, that you know how to write these different ways. So let's take a look at the second one. A teacher must treat all her students equally. So let's see what we can do with that. Let's use some gender inclusive language. Very nice. A teacher's students must be treated equally. I like that. Teacher must be treated equally. A teacher must treat all one's students equally. A teacher must treat all his or her students equally. Very nice from Munna there. Saliha. Teachers must treat all their. So we changed the noun from a teacher to teachers to the plural. And then we changed his to their. Very nice. Mani. A teacher must treat all one's students. One's needs an apostrophe for the S, yeah? So apostrophe S, students equally. Nice. A teacher's students must be treated equally. Okay, thank you, Manny. I'm sure it was a typo. Yeah, excellent, excellent. Good stuff there. Let's take a look at the third sentence. A person should always think. Good. A teacher must treat all their students equally. Nice. Okay, let's take a look at the third one now. A person should always think about others before he thinks about of himself or about himself. A person should always think about others before one thinks of oneself. Nice, nice. Okay, so we have more than one person. Here I have another answer. A person should always think about others before they think of themselves. So they there. So we change he to they. Nice. Yes. Okay. Okay. People. Ah, we have people. People. So we're changing a person to people. Should think about others before they think about themselves. Very nice. So we have there, yeah. Okay. Ah, a person should think about others before he or she. Hmm. Yeah. Now I would avoid he or she because we have two there. So it's going to be like he or she thinks about himself or herself, and I think it would be better to avoid he or she when we have like multiple pronouns within the sentence. Yeah, I know some of you like to use persons, but it's not really that commonly used by natives. Like persons should always think. I think people is a lot more common and sounds a lot more natural. Excellent. Now let's move on to the last one, number 4. See what we have for number 4. Aha. So here, Burud's changed citizen to citizens are allowed to vote if they. So we have the plural noun and we have the pronoun that goes to match it, which is they. Very good. Yeah, citizens, we have the plural noun. A citizen is allowed to vote if he or she. Yeah, he or she here is nice because we don't have another pronoun that's going to make it sound strange. So he or she is good. Yes. We can also, yes, we can say a citizen is allowed to vote if they. So we can use a singular with they. There's no problem with that. And Abu Bakr, I think Abu Bakr made a mistake here. So it should be a citizen is allowed to vote if one. It's not ones with the possessive s. So we're not replacing his or her here. We're just replacing the pronoun he. So we could use one if one has registered 1 month in advance. Excellent. Excellent. Very good. Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you for being really active today. That is the end of the gender neutral lesson. Thanks for watching.